Hello, hello. I am so excited for you to tune into today's episode with Angela Avery. She's a licensed professional counselor who's been in private practice for the past 11 years. And I think that Angela has a really interesting story in that she had a successful six-figure private practice for quite a while. And then something sort of shifted in the market and in her own marketing, and things sort of stopped working. And so she joined Private Practice Academy and decided to go all in on Instagram and really show up and market herself proactively for the first time in her career. And she has had absolutely amazing, amazing success. In the past 6 months, she's gotten 17 clients from Instagram, which is wild, who are all paying her $200 per session. And she's done this with less than 1,000 followers. And I think what's really cool is that Angela has been in all three of my programs. So she's in the Private Practice Academy, she does our VIP coaching calls, and she's also in the Reels membership. But she's really been proactive in trying to learn everything, take it in, and implement. And it has just created the most incredible results. Her practice is back up to earning six figures. She's earning 25% more per month for the past several months now, and is just absolutely thriving with this brand new marketing channel. And so I'm excited for you to tune in. The other thing I want to note as well, and I'll use Angela's words here, not my own, but she's a quote unquote older therapist, right? So she is, not in her 20s or 30s like a lot of us are on Instagram. And I think that that is just such a unique perspective. I often hear from therapists who feel like they sort of missed the mark or missed the age window to be able to show up on Instagram. But Angela is such an amazing testament that you can have success with Instagram at any age. It's really about showing up, knowing your people, doing the work, and having fun. So this is going to be a really great episode. Angela shares so much wisdom with us, and let's dive in. Hi, Angela. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Tell everybody who you are, where they can find you, what kind of clients you enjoy working with.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at the Counseling Studio. I work specifically with really challenging relationships, toxic relationships, narcissistic relationships, mostly with women, but also with couples.
Amazing. And I'm really excited for today's episode because I feel like you have such a unique story compared to a lot of the other therapists that I've had on here. You've had a successful private practice for a long time. We're already earning six figures. And then things started to shift with, I think, just sort of like the way that businesses operate, right? And
hmm
so I love that you decided to join PPA, sort of rethink your marketing and rebuild in a more strategic way. So let's sort of dive in. Take us back to
Yeah,
maybe like where your practice was previously when you were like really
yeah.
happy with it, and how you were marketing yourself at the time when that was still working.
So I was very fortunate to have a lot of word of mouth marketing just worked.
Yep.
And I live in a small community and I know the people in the community. I grew up here, so I had quite an advantage. So what happened, however, is after 10 years in business, I don't know if I took my eye off the ball or I wasn't doing anything to really get refreshed. Of course, I still had Psychology Today, but as we all know, Psychology Today looks completely different than it did years ago.
Yep.
And now it's just really difficult. So I found myself really scared at the beginning of 2025 that my income would go down. And there were some life events that happened that I got a little desperate because I
Mm-hmm.
really needed to keep that income level. So I found you. I think I had been following you for quite a while just online. And then I thought, I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it. And it has been a godsend.
Yeah. And so at this point, it seems like your primary marketing was sort of like networking and Psych Today. Is that right?
100%.
Had you been on social media at all, or was that totally new for you?
I laugh because I didn't even know how to do a reel.
Yep.
And I think I just was reposting people's things. And
Yeah.
I don't even know, maybe it was 100 people on my Instagram. And that was really my family and my friends.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to sort of come to this decision process that you were going to start marketing yourself on Instagram as a therapist?
So I'm a little bit of an older therapist, and
Uh-huh.
I got nervous because I thought everybody would think, "Oh, she's trying to be an influencer or
Yep.
she's, trying to be too big for her britches." But I got to tell you, like, I did this out of sheer will that I needed the money. So, I mean, I was like, I'm going to get rid of my ego
Yeah.
and just go for it. And it's been a huge learning curve because I didn't know anything about it.
Let's actually talk through the like being a quote unquote older therapist for a little bit because I get
Absolutely.
emails and DMs from therapists, around your age a few times a month that are like, hey, does this work for me? I feel sort of self
Yeah.
conscious. Everyone I see on Instagram seems to be in their 20s and
Yeah.
30s. What advice would you give to therapists who are sort of outside of their 20s and 30s who are thinking about starting and showing up on Instagram?
The way that I rationalize it in my mind is that since most of you are all in the same age group, the people that are not like me,
Mm-hmm.
we have a little bit more of a special niche, right? We can
Totally.
look a lot more, experienced, although you guys are all experienced as well, but we can provide some life wisdom.
Yeah.
And I just leaned in. Like it's going to be what it is. Sometimes you're going to see my gray hair. Sometimes you're going to see you're going to see, menopause symptoms. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
there's things. Yeah.
I love that. Something I often tell therapists too is like, I think that there's somebody for everybody on Instagram. So, like,
Hmm.
my mom is in her 70s. She's not a content creator by any means, but she loves posting reels of like her travel. Her and my
Yeah.
dad, now that they're empty nesters, they travel like half the year. They're always on vacation. And like her Instagram feed, when I sit next to her, is people that are much older than me, usually. There's some people who are younger, right? But there's plenty of people on Instagram in all age groups who are using the app and who are interested in looking for more people like them. I'm
Yeah.
curious if your own algorithm sort of shows you more people like in a similar age group, or if it feels like even though you're creating content and spending a lot of time on Instagram, you still feel sort of like the odd one out, if that makes sense.
I still kind of feel like the odd one out right
Yeah.
now. Maybe it'll change. Like I want to give it a year. That was my
Yeah.
goal, is give it a year and see what happens. I will say that before I started Instagram, I posted one thing on, on TikTok, and I laugh
Uh-huh.
because I feel silly saying that, but it for me it blew up, and I got like 65,000 views and a lot
Yeah.
of comments, and they're very chatty over there on TikTok, but
Oh, yeah.
all of a sudden I got scared, like, whoa, should I be doing this? And then it just so happened that you came along, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to lean into the whole experience of social media.
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time on the TikTok stuff, but I spend a lot of time on Instagram.
Yep, amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's been like 6-ish months since you've joined PPA, since you really started like posting reels and getting serious on Instagram. And spoiler alert for folks, Angela's had 16 new clients from Instagram, which is just
17 now.
17. Incredible. So I think that that's huge. Has Instagram become sort of like your primary referral source for your practice at this point?
1,000%. And it has really allowed also the referrals from word of mouth to boost back up
Yeah.
too, because now that's more people that say, oh yeah, and my sister and my girlfriend, and it just goes from there.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I want you to share some wisdom with folks today because that is really, really incredible success. Maybe let's start with like how quickly did you sort of start to see results from Instagram, whether that was gaining followers or actually like getting new clients?
Okay. So I got really excited, Kelly. I have to tell you, like when I hit 200 followers, I
Yeah.
was so excited. And then I saw it kind of creep up like by 100 people every month. And I was like, this is
Hmm.
working. My first, because I first of all, let me go backwards. I devoured the PPA. Like I
Yeah.
spent a whole week just devouring it and writing, and I keep a whole notebook that literally just says Kelly McKenna on it, and I keep it.
I love that so much.
Yes, and I make sure I do all the things. So my first intro call, I think, was in like a month in,
Yeah.
and because I use Calendly, and I had never done really anything like that before where someone can schedule their intro. I've never used that.
Yeah.
But that to me is a game changer. Um, so I think I got my first person in March when I had started everything, maybe late February.
Yeah.
And I just kind of a couple here and there just keeps plunking along.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious if there's anything in particular that you credit to having success on Instagram, because I know for a lot of people it can take several months to start getting
Mhm.
results. Was there anything that you feel like you did differently, or that you saw working particularly well, or were hearing from clients on intro calls that was working?
I think my niche is a little bit it provides a great experience on Instagram because I can be sassy.
Mm-hmm.
It's about toxic relationships. It's about narcissism. I can say sassier things than maybe, an anxiety therapist for millennials like you.
Yeah.
I have a, and I'm older, so I feel like I can say it in a way. It
Yeah.
gives me a little bit of permission. I think also one of the things that's really helped is when you provide me through the Reels membership, like the lip syncing videos, I go all in. Like I
Yeah.
am, Emmy award winning actress on there. I try to really show my personality because I feel like that's, it's supposed to be fun too for
Yeah.
me. And so I really try.
I think that both of those things are so huge, because what I really hear is like, in the beginning, you were scared to show up on Instagram, right? But you did it. And that was what has like really led to the results.
Yeah.
Like being willing to say something that a lot of people aren't willing to say because they're afraid to ruffle feathers. Or, a lot of people like phone in their lip syncing reels or the B roll because it's like, oh, I don't want to like look like too much.
Yeah.
And I think that that's huge. It's actually funny. I'm doing a lot of like content prep for maternity leave, and I was scrolling all the way back to the beginning of my Instagram to try and like just see if there was like old ideas I could repurpose and stuff. And I feel like I had so much more energy and enthusiasm for content in the beginning. And I'm like, I gotta bring some of that back. Probably not in the third trimester, might not be the time for me to be bopping around.
Right.
But I
Right.
was like dancing everywhere. I was like really animated with stuff. I did some reel where I had like my husband like pulling me on the floor from like behind the corner. Like I feel like I was really into
Yeah.
like showing up on camera. And I
Hmm.
think that that really worked, especially when I was, building an audience for the first time. Like you needed that extra oomph to like really connect with people. And
You
I think a lot
do.
of folks are afraid to go there.
Yeah, for sure. And I know in the VIP community, when a lot of times some of the other therapists will say, I'm not having as good of luck on the lip syncing or whatever, but then you look at and they are just kind of phoning it in.
Yeah.
I really want everybody to show up like animated,
Yeah.
just and because it's supposed to be fun. Like,
It is. Do you
and I
find
have
it fun when you're doing it, or?
oh my God, I love it. I do.
Yeah.
I kind of get my actress self out. But, I have a really hard niche, and
Yeah.
it's heavy, and there's a lot of, trauma, secondary trauma, on and on. So if I don't bring in a little bit of lightness, I mean, this could go really heavy and dark.
Yeah. Uh, how do you sort of like plan your content? So I know you mentioned the
Mm.
Reels membership. Are you like batching things in advance? Are you filming day of? Like, talk us through your process here.
I want to be the person that batches and creates way ahead of time. I I get really excited for Monday mornings at 8 a.m. and then I
Yeah.
see the email that comes in that says the Reels membership and what you're doing that week. And I pick one that day on Mondays.
Yeah.
And then I will probably schedule one or two and I'll film them right there, or at least, get them kind of organized and save a
Yeah.
draft on Monday or Tuesday. And then I kind of free fall and let it free flow Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I post
Yep.
every day except Sunday.
Okay. I love that. So 6 times a week.
Yep.
And how are you sort of like coming up with content ideas, whether it's with the Reels membership prompts, like how are you kind of deciding to plug them in, or the content ideas you're coming up with on your own?
93% is you and the
Yeah.
Reels membership, because I feel like don't, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And why would I not use what's being provided to me?
Yeah.
And then if there is something a little bit more that would tend towards my niche, like a little spicier, a little
Yeah.
sassier, saucier, I will go to that, and I'll use it.
Yeah. Has anything surprised you about like the type of content that performs best for you or?
Yes. I thought it would be mostly educational, would be probably, the best. It
Yeah.
is the lip syncing videos for me.
That's so funny because those
It
are
is
like
so funny. Like
the
the
easiest to do.
the easiest to do. And I don't know, there was one from Legally Blonde, I think, that you did, and that was like a hit for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I know.
So, at what point in your Instagram journey did you realize like this is actually working, right? Like was that the first client you got from Instagram or did
Mm.
it take you a little bit longer to be like, "Oh yeah, like this is for real. Like I can actually do this long term."
Yeah, I think it was probably maybe the second or third that I got from Instagram, because at first I
Yep.
was like, okay, this is just a fluke.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden I think I said to my family, like, I think this is working. This is amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And how many followers do you have now?
Like 882 this morning.
Amazing. So
Yeah, I know.
17 clients out of 882
Yeah.
followers, which is
Yeah.
just so, so, so incredible.
Yeah.
I think that that really speaks to like your messaging, I guess, and like how deep your community feels connected to you.
Mhm.
Are you doing a lot of like stories or how are you kind of like nurturing people beyond, posting reels on Instagram to get people to really trust you and to want you to be their therapist?
I struggle with stories.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. And I think I haven't got my rhythm down just yet, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do, I think you had said in one of your podcasts, some questions or a poll and
Yeah.
then maybe some follow up. I'm trying to sort of follow that. And again, I don't have the rhythm down, but I'm doing things as I go. I don't
Yeah.
know.
How often do you think that you post in stories like in a typical week?
Uh, 3 or 4 times.
Okay. So not a ton. Definitely posting more in feed.
Yes, more in feed.
Yeah. And mostly, I know you said you post like 6 days a week. Is that mostly reels or are you doing some carousels in there too?
So I'm trying to do some carousels, but I only do, this is my weird. I don't know why I got on the grid thing. You know
Yeah.
how your grid looks. So it's and I really have taken a lot of what you've said to heart, that sometimes people need a place to land when they're looking at your grid
Yeah.
that isn't your face and isn't like a video. So I'm trying to really take that into account, and I do like every ninth
Yeah.
post is a carousel for me.
Okay. So really not frequently at all. It's been
No.
largely reels where all of these clients are coming from.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you use calls to action in your reels, or what do you think is sort of making people take that next step from like, oh, I watched this funny lip syncing reel that was so relatable to I'm actually going to reach out and schedule an intro call and work with her?
Yeah. I don't, that's interesting. Now that you say that, now I feel like I should be doing that more.
Whatever
eh,
you're doing is working. So,
I don't know. I feel like I'm behind the eight ball. I don't think I post my call to action until I get to the caption.
yeah,
Yeah. But I might say something like, hey, reach out if you want to schedule something like that,
yeah,
or follow me for more or whatever it is.
totally. And are
Yeah.
you including that call to action about like accepting new clients in most of your captions, or is it like sort of sporadic?
I would say the majority of them, I do say that. And
Yeah,
then every once in a while, I'll say just like and follow or share this with your best friend or
yeah,
whatever.
cool. And then you are running an Instagram ad as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I will say that I think the Instagram ad has been extremely beneficial.
Yeah.
I've been running that, and sometimes I take breaks so I can change it and then I post it back up again. But I've been running that almost the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So tell folks who maybe aren't in PPA, sort of how you are structuring our Instagram ad in terms of like budget,
yeah.
a little bit of what that post looks like. And we can go ahead and link, whatever ad you have currently running. I'll add it to the show notes for folks if they want to take a little peek there.
Sure. So I you have used the PPA provides you a template for what the ad should look like. And I used that. Again, I'm trying to just use my resources.
Yeah.
And I did do my own unique audience. I wanted it to be a little bit more of a Gen X
Yeah.
version for females, people that have been married a lot longer than younger. And so I did do that. I spend $5 a day. I think overall, I don't know. I'm at like $400
Yeah.
probably total. Yeah, that I have spent, but I have 17 new clients
Yeah, that is so wild. Like
at
that
my
return
highest
on
rate.
ad spend is unheard of.
Yeah. And at my high rate too. So that's good.
What is your rate for folks?
200.
Okay, amazing. And where are you located?
I'm in Michigan.
Okay, I feel like that's huge too. To be like, yes, I'm in the Midwest. I charge $200 per session, and I'm still getting 17 clients from Instagram in 6 months.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
Yes. And I have done I have been using a third party service that helps people get out of network benefits.
yeah,
Um, and I'm going to be switching over to another one, but I think those kinds of services are quite helpful.
totally. Do you know, like, it could definitely be like a guesstimate, but like the percentage of your clients who actually have some sort of out of network benefits that they're using to help pay for therapy or?
Um, it's interesting. A lot of people have out of network benefits after their deductible is met, but a lot of people have
Yeah,
very high deductibles.
yeah. And so when they're starting work
It's
with you, they're not really getting reimbursed.
they're not really getting reimbursed, or they are working towards a deductible, that kind of thing. And but then once we start working, I think most people are like, it doesn't matter, I gotta stay because this is helping.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's like such a, I don't know, like I feel like it's so much of like what people value to spend their money on, especially
Mhm.
when you're talking about private pay therapy to begin with. Like if you can afford 150 a week for private pay therapy, you can probably afford 200 a week for private pay therapy. I certainly think there's, obviously people who cannot afford that, who need to use like insurance and can only do $20 a week or
Yeah.
something.
Hmm.
But I think when you're like talking about private pay, it's so worth it to make those changes to your rate because on the client end, it doesn't feel like such a stretch when they're like really getting something out of it. But when
Hmm.
you multiply that by 10, 15, 20 clients a week, it's a huge, huge, huge difference on your own income.
Very much so. And I was pretty worried because I did a $50 jump. I
Yeah.
was worried that I would lose everyone. And, I sent it to my current customers, for my current clients first. And I got back the greatest feedback. They were all like, good for you.
Isn't
So
that funny how that happens?
I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that.
I do
And
too.
so tell us where your practice is at now in terms of like finances, number of clients you're seeing a week, how that's feeling for you.
Yeah, I see about 20, 15 to 20, and
Yeah.
that for me is just fine. I am really happy right there. Um, I would actually prefer 15.
Yeah.
And for finances, I do about 10,000, a little bit more than 10,000 a month.
Love that.
And I've had six figure for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. I'm really particular about money. So I track year over year, month over month for 11 years. And
Yeah.
so I know exactly what I made every month so far.
Yeah. What feels different to you about like this year versus last year?
Um, I feel like I made a decision and this is more personal, but I made a decision that I needed to go and kind of do something very brave to just amplify my business and my
Yeah.
income. I made a decision and I just went for it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love
And
that.
I will say, we talked a little bit about this, but I think we should talk about it in terms of capacity too.
Yes.
Because, where I am in my life is not where other people who have young families or who are just starting out on their family journey like you. I have an empty nest. My partner travels a ton. So I have a lot of time to do these kinds of things,
Yeah.
where other people I can't imagine that they'd have this kind of time.
Totally. And when you say this kind of time, do you mean for like the marketing on Instagram or the seeing 15 to 20 clients a week, or what is the piece that feels like I guess like a little stretchy to you?
Little stretchy would be the time to learn the marketing, the
Yeah,
time to actually implement it and to track it, and really, like, it's a whole nother beast. It's a
it
whole nother
is.
side of your business that, if you're not paying attention to it, it kind of goes by the wayside. But I think you need time on it. And I don't know, the only way to do that is you have to have the time.
Yeah. And I think that that's huge because like I love Instagram. It's been like the primary referral source for my therapy business, for my coaching business, my memberships, my courses, like everything. Right? But it is not like an easy magic bullet or something that you just like set and
Mhm.
forget. And so I
Yeah.
do think that it's really helpful to talk about like that trade-off a little bit of, I think both of us are people who enjoy and have a fun time on Instagram. And so it certainly work. And it takes time and effort, but it feels like a good return on that investment of time. Right. Whereas, like, I think that every therapist has choices, right? So, like, you could
Hmm.
choose instead to say, I really don't want to spend a lot of time marketing. I would rather see an extra 8 clients a week and be
Yeah.
in network with insurance and not have to worry about any of this. And I'm
Hmm.
okay with having a higher caseload. Like, I don't want to do the marketing thing,
Yeah.
right? Or if you're like, no, the marketing is really fun. That feels like a good variety in my day. I'm happy to take the time to learn. I'm happy to experiment, put myself out there. You can have a significantly lower caseload and charge 2 or 3 times what people are making with insurance, right? And so I
Right.
think that that trade off is like super helpful to name, that it really does take, I'm sure quite a bit of work for you to get 17 new clients in 6 months. Is not just like,
Yeah.
I purchased the course, I didn't watch anything, and all of a sudden all the new clients floated.
Right. Well, it's a lot of I stay in my head a little bit too much, I know, but like all of us do. But there is a lot of pre-planning or thinking about the reel or that you're going to do, or thinking about what you're going to say in the caption. And we can use GPT all we want, but sometimes that doesn't sound like us. So
Yep.
I write all my captions myself.
Yep.
So, because I want it to be conversational and like I would actually say it. So,
Totally.
it takes time, and I don't want anybody to think, "Oh my God, it's so easy to do this." Because if I had a young family, it wouldn't look like this.
Yep.
It just wouldn't.
How do you think you would structure things differently if you were like at a different point in your career or in your life?
I would really set aside a couple of hours, maybe a week,
Yep.
and then just do what you can do in those hours, and that's
Yep.
it. And
Yep.
I'm a big compartmentalizer. Like, if I need to get something done, I'm going to structure it in terms of a time block. But if you're doing this on the fly, I don't know, that would feel really I would be very anxious.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I'm curious like what that looks like for me, in the next coming months.
Yeah.
Because when I started my Instagram, I was such a batcher, like how you just described is like the way that I needed to run my life because I was working a full-time job at the time
Hmm.
and I had a pretty full caseload of insurance clients, like 10 to
Hmm.
15 a week while I had the full-time job because I was like,
Hmm.
I wasn't married. I was like, I need to have financial security and savings and like income coming in before I can quit this job. And so, I was doing like 2, 3 weeks worth of content on Saturday mornings. And I was like,
Right.
I need all of this to be done, to be ready, because
Yeah.
I did not have like the mental energy and bandwidth during the week to just like throw up a reel.
Yeah.
And now I'm at the point where, my business is stable, things are running on repeat. And so I'm able to say, I don't need to really plan that far in advance. I have an extra 30 minutes today to decide what do I want to post, to film
Yeah.
it, to, put the caption together. And that works for me. And the idea currently, before baby, of planning, even a week's worth of content and filming it at once, I'm like, oh no, I don't have 2-3 hours for that. Like that
Right.
seems like too much work. And so I think it's just interesting to think about like different seasons and what that fluctuation can look like, and like really giving yourself permission to lean in wherever it feels supportive. If
Yeah.
that's like a ton of planning in advance or setting aside a little bit of time every day, or, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And I think my journey too was a little different because I went all in on all things. Like
Yeah.
I didn't just do Instagram. I also learned a lot about SEO, and I hired some freelancers to help me with the SEO. I redid my website. I hired Brandwell, who you've recommended, to redo my branding. Like I kind of
Yeah.
went full guns all in so that because I didn't know what was going to stick. Had
Yeah.
no idea. And again, you can't have that kind of like you really have to have the time and space and opportunity to do that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the like sort of website work was worth it, kind of looking back, or?
It needed to happen anyways, so
Yeah.
it was just happenstance that it was at the same time. I like to be in charge of my own website, so so I redo it myself, which is, I know, maybe not a great thing, but that's just how I'm working. And it does save a little bit of money that way.
Yeah, love that. I
Yeah.
think like upgrading the website is usually something that people feel like hesitant to do because it's a big investment in either
Yeah.
time or money.
Yeah.
But I do think, especially when you're charging a premium, like we need to have a website that kind of matches that, whether it's
100%. Yeah.
done by yourself or it's done by, a design team. But we can't have like, we're sending all these people from Instagram to like a janky website where it's
You're right.
like, why is this lady charging $200 per session?
Yeah.
I think we really need to sort of like continue that branding and show I'm the best
Yeah.
of the best, and have your website reflect that.
Absolutely. And I did get help for all of that. So that helped a lot. And even branding pictures and things like that. So
Yeah.
helpful.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have a few more questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, are you still accepting new clients, or are you like turning folks away, or what does that look like?
So that was going to be my question for you.
Okay, love it.
Yes. How do you know when to kind of slow down a little bit or stop, or
Yeah.
I don't really know what the answer is. I am still accepting new clients, but I'm worried that, oh my gosh, I might get into like we all were during COVID, like it's too many and now we're full. I don't know where to be.
First question for you is like, how long do your clients typically stay with you?
Um, oh, that's a good question. I would have to research, but I would
Yeah.
say more than 6 months.
Okay. So we're not like having a ton of turnover with folks.
No.
Yeah. Um, and I know you said you're at 15 to 20 now, but you'd rather be closer to 15. So it seems like we're even okay for people to like drop off a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I think I'm going to give two things here. I'm going to share one, what I did, which is not necessarily the advice I'd give you. And then I'll give you also
Okay.
advice. And, I think for me, it took a little bit, like probably honestly, my whole first year, I still felt like it was a fluke. Like I was still getting a ton of clients from Instagram, but I didn't really feel like that safety for myself that it wasn't going to go away. And so every time somebody reached out, if it was a client that I enjoyed talking to on an intro call, they were willing to pay my rate of $250 a session. I was kind of like, okay, I should do this, because what happens if somebody falls off? What happens if, whatever? I think I'm give myself grace of like, I think that's what I needed at the time to feel safe. And so if it's what you need, like, please take that. But it definitely led to me working more and like in a semi unsustainable way than I would have liked to that first year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think in like year two, where I really started to like settle in and feel like confident and like good in my practice, I started to just like, how do I put this? Like, undo some of the marketing optimizations that I had put in place. Right. So, like, I stopped having an intro call scheduler and started having people email to reach out because I didn't want to do every intro call.
Uh-huh.
And so instead of
That's
having
good to know.
people get on my calendar, they could email. And if I knew that I was having conversations with a client about discharging, if I felt like I had space, I could reply back and schedule them. Or if I was like, no, I'm pretty full, I could send them a referral. And I think that that really helped with like building a network and knowing, I still feel like very confident in Instagram as a marketing source for my practice, but I could not have Instagram and I could still keep my caseload full with like the referrals and connections I made from Instagram at this point,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it felt good to me to be like, I can give a warm handoff to this person and not have to get on an intro call first to do that.
That's a
So
good
that's
idea.
one thing
Yeah.
that I found really helpful. I also just like stopped using calls to action in my
Hmm.
captions,
Okay.
and Instagram stories, like telling people to book intro calls unless I knew like, oh, I had a few people discharge this month, like I could start to ramp up again. I knew
Hmm.
what worked at that point, and so I could like kind of pull that lever, but I wasn't trying to encourage people all the time, and I was still getting a handful of people every month without any calls to action who were just going from Instagram, finding my website, being like, I want to work with her, and I'm reaching out. But I think that decrease was really helpful. I'd also probably stop running the Instagram ad if I was
Ad.
you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
I
costing a
get
ton of money,
nervous
but
because then, like you said, like you get a little panicky,
for sure.
and I don't want to be, like the follower watcher, how many follows and who
Yeah.
is dropped. I don't want to be looking so much at the data, but um, I don't think I'm there yet to feel super secure.
Yep.
But if I go all the way through 2025, at the end of 2025, I'm going to be like, okay, like you can back off, because I really worry about burnout quite a lot.
Yep.
Especially with the kind of niche that I have. It's really hard, and I have to be very careful.
And I think what's really cool too, though, is like now you've learned the skill set to be able
Mhm.
to fill the caseload whenever you need.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, if in December you decide I'm turning off the Instagram ad and in March you need more clients,
Yeah.
you know exactly what to do to sort of pull that lever and to get clients from Instagram again. And
Yeah.
I think the important thing is like making sure you're maintaining in that period. And I know, which we can sort of like wrap up here, of like you're starting a second business, you're working on a course, like you have other plans. So I'm confident
Yeah.
you're going to continue to show up and market yourself on Instagram regardless, right?
Right.
But that would be like the one thing I would caution folks on is don't say, my caseload is full, so now I'm going to stop with Instagram, or now I'm going to
Yeah.
stop with networking, or now I'm going to stop with SEO, wherever it is that your clients are coming from. We don't need to be at level 10 with it anymore, right? Like maybe you go from 6 times a week to 3 times a week for posting, but we do need to keep that audience nurtured. We need to have new
Yeah.
people coming in occasionally. We need to like keep top of mind, keep building that trust, keep building that relationship with folks. So that way, kind of similar to what happened last year, you're not in that position where you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know when this happened, but all of a sudden none of my marketing's working anymore,
Right. Right. Yes, exactly. I literally thought my phone was, broken or something.
You're
So
like, is this thing on?
is this thing on? Yes, yes. So, and I'm hoping, like you said, I am starting a totally separate niche coaching business, the men's relationship studio. But that is, um, for me, I feel like if I could get that going, then I can take my clients down and kind of create this happy balance,
Yeah.
which is what I really need to do. But right now, it's not there,
Yeah.
and because I'm starting from absolutely zero.
With the second business.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm curious what motivated you to start a second business versus um like go more all in on your practice, or
Yeah.
like shift things more in your practice to make that feel more like
Mhm.
optimized or sustainable.
So, because my niche is narcissistic relationships and I help women,
Yeah.
I really wanted to do sort of the other gender. I really wanted to focus on men in married relationships who just are kind of clueless. I love you guys, but you're kind of clueless. Like, why is my wife pulling away? They don't have the skills. And though that's really for more of a healthy relationship. And the reason I did it is because I'm getting burnt out with, such a heavy load all the time. I
Yep.
love it and I will continue to do it forever. But there's also a piece of me that says I need to sort of have some ability to help people on a little bit lighter scale.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that. I feel
Yeah.
like for me, that's like what the business coaching is it's just like a different part of my brain, and it
Yeah.
feels like fun and exciting, where I'm like, there's only so many therapy sessions I can do a week. And my caseload's not super heavy. But even with that, I'm like, there's only so many I can do a week before I start to feel like, bleh,
Yeah. Yeah, for
But I
sure.
still am ambitious. I still like to work. I enjoy connecting with people. And I'm like, I can do this other side of things. And like that feels new and fun and exciting. So I'm
Yes.
excited for you to have that and to kind
Yeah.
of
Thank
have
you.
that variety and how you're using your brain and how you're showing up with folks.
Yeah, and I didn't want guys to feel bad because I'm, dissing them on one on one channel, and I really love them on the other.
Yeah.
So
Well, I assume it's different men, right? Like
different
we're
men,
not,
yes, for sure.
yeah.
It's different men. Yes.
What advice would you give to therapists who are thinking about starting on Instagram to really try and get private pay clients for the first time?
I would suggest that you learn how to use Instagram, and then some of the little tips and tricks, like a call to action. I didn't even know what that was.
Yep.
All of the little pieces and parts, the bio. I think your structure for how to do your Instagram bio is brilliant, and that is really needed. I see so many people that don't do it.
Yep.
So I would learn a lot about Instagram itself, and
Yep.
then show up and have fun. Like, go all in. Don't just, repeat the words in a lip syncing video. Like, dance it out, do something funny.
Yep.
One of mine was the reason it was kind of hilarious because it was a lip syncing video that said most people would have let that go. But I showed up with a pair of scissors like I was a crazy woman.
Yeah.
And just little funny things. Think about your visual hook. Think about your, what's on the screen, all of that.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
All right. And can you remind folks one last time where they can follow along? Because I think that you are such an inspiration for like how to show up fully on Instagram with all that energy.
Oh, thank you. At the counseling studio and at the men's relationship studio.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Angela. I'm so
Thank
proud of you
you.
and everything
Thank
that
you.
you've accomplished.
I'm
And
so grateful for you. I am so grateful for you.
thank you.
You're
I'll
welcome.
talk to you soon.